This one goes out to the Artcasters. Ooh, Artcasters! I say you're catching your spell, Artcasters. Catching your spell. Ooh, you're gonna cast that spell. Strike of hell. Whoa! Ooh, hi, 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 hi. Aye, aye.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Artcasters number 468. And we have a returning guest who was just on like a couple of weeks ago, but we had to have him back because he and I both did a show, Phoenix Fan Fusion, and we're going to kind of do a wrap up and maybe even talk about cons and the state of cons, because we're still kind of coming off of that post-pandemic kind of thing with cons, and I'm curious if maybe they're back or maybe they still got a way to go. We'll talk about at least this con, and since our guest Scott Lost has done far more conventions than me, this is the first really con that I've exhibited at since the pandemic. So but we're going to talk about our experience with that, and we've only got him for like the first 40 minutes, so we're going to try to go through our intros rather quickly. So I'll give you mine, Scott at Serkworks.com. That's my website where you can find my digital tools, my novelties like wax packs and things like that. I've also got my comic books. The trade for Young and the Dead still isn't up there yet, but it will be up there soon. So just keep an eye on that. But that's all at Serkworks.com. Also on this YouTube channel, you can find all my other videos, whether that's retro project builds or, Making Comics 101, the most comprehensive free course on how to make comics. There's a playlist for that. Check it out. Josh.
All right. You are entering a world where I will be live streaming a lot. So make sure you're following me on YouTube. I'll probably be live streaming tonight and working on comics. That way we can hang out and work on comics. So that's one thing. Number two, you want to make sure you check out No Saboteurs. The Sun Eventually Sets on Everything, our new album. It's on streaming platforms everywhere. And then number three, check out Two Stories or Jacob's Apartment, my two graphic novels. They're kind of what the indie cool kids are reading. And then lastly, make sure you are not rooting for the Padres and you're only rooting for the Dodgers tonight. And that was nothing to do with our guest, but I'm just saying that was just a last statement, and let's just pass that on.
All right, Scott.
I don't know, man. I feel attacked. But fun fact, I don't watch a ton of baseball. When I do watch it, it is Padres because I'm here, so it's usually at a game. But for the longest time, I considered myself a Dodgers fan because Magic Johnson owned a part of the Dodgers. So Magic Johnson, I'm a huge Lakers fan. I used to listen to ESPN LA all the time. So all they would talk is Lakers and Dodgers. And so it's like during that Yasiel Puig era, like I knew everything about the Dodgers. I legit had conversations with fans, baseball fans, about the Dodgers. Like I knew what the fuck I was talking about. And it was streamless. I was just saying stuff and they're like, yeah, totally. And blah, blah, blah. And so anyway, go Padres, and I'm okay if you like the Dodgers too, so that's okay. I'm Scott Lost. I am the creator of The Second Shift, Wanderers of Melisande, Paradise Hills, and Granite for the Accidental Aliens, and you can find my stuff at accidentalaliens.com. I got it right there if you guys need to look at it.
Also link in the description, so if you want to find Scott on there. So. Oh,
and then you got to check out my band on Bandcamp, Righteous Hand Jobs. So, yeah. Coming back.
You really need to make this real. Like this needs to exist. That's the best band name on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, we're great.
All right, see on your podcast you can bleep that stuff out, but we can't do that here. So
my bad.
No, just kidding. I'm okay.
Sorry, I'm a little loosey goosey. We're a little loosey goosey on the Making Comics podcast.
And definitely check out the Making Comics podcast on all your podcast streaming platforms.
Also that. Thank you. We should have brought that up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's kick it off. Let's get into it. So Phoenix Fan Fusion was this weekend. You and Keith Foster kind of came out to AZ. You guys stayed with me, and then we hit hit the show, and you've been doing this show for a while. I haven't done this show, other than I was there one year just doing sketches for my local comic book store who had a booth there. But beyond that, I haven't exhibited at Phoenix Fan Fusion or pretty much any con rather than these smaller one-day cons like I've been doing lately. I haven't exhibited since 2018. So I kind of want to know, just going in there, what your overall feeling was about the con compared to previous years. And you and Keith have both expressed that this show in particular is kind of a wild card show for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Number one, thank you for letting me crash with you guys. You and Ben are great hosts. So nice, so awesome.
You're Scott. Your volume, like it was real good before, and something just happened where it's not as loud. There, it's good.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Can't hear
Much
us.
better, yeah.
Yes, it's way better now. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Ahead.
Sorry about that. Old headphones. Yeah. So thank you and Jen for being such gracious hosts.
Oh yeah.
You guys were amazing. The home cooked meal when we got back from the show on Friday was like much needed, and so thank you again. As for the show, it was a fantastic show. This, like you said, it is a wild card show. You kind of don't know what you're getting as far as like convention flow. When you work a lot of shows, you kind of get the lay of the land for each show. It's just like, okay, this one's kind of like the Fridays aren't that great, but Saturday's gangbusters and Sunday's solid. Sunday being like solid. It's kind of like middle of the road. That's kind of standard for most conventions. And for Phoenix Fan Fusion, for me specifically, it is unpredictable. I mean, there was 2 shows that we did for Phoenix Fan Fusion where Keith was essentially killing every day. And I was just eating a pile of you-know-what. And so I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what's going on with the show. Like, is it my art? Like, is the crowd changing? What is it? And then Sunday will roll around, and it'll be an insane day. Like, Keith will be doing gangbuster numbers every day. And then on Sunday, I get the equivalent to his entire run for, like, the whole day. So I'm just, and that's very uncommon for me. That's not a common thing. Like we both kind of sell at the same pace relatively. Sometimes one of us will pull ahead, then the other one will come back. And then by the end of the show, we're relatively even. I might be a little higher because I do sell art prints and original art, where Keith is just strictly books and like little metal trading cards and stuff like that. But primarily it's books for him. So this year kind of fell more in line with other conventions. Like the Sunday was very middle of the road. Like it was a decent number, nothing to scoff at, but it wasn't the gangbuster numbers that I'm used to. So overall sales wise, like number one, great numbers at this show. The last 3 years, I have no complaints. It's been like, this is one of the few shows that I've had since like the pandemic and like all these tariffs and like just the economy changing and all that stuff, like where my show numbers are actually going up. So yeah, Phoenix Fan Fusion is tracking up, where like something like WonderCon is more tracking down. Each year the number drops by 5%, maybe 10, and it's just like, on the indie side of things, that's not a sustainable thing. It's just like, yeah, this is a little rough, so we got to make some adjustments. Phoenix Fan Fusion, no adjustments.
Okay, cool. So how does that factor? You're saying that a show like WonderCon, which is closer to you, kind of is tracking down. How does at least for this year Fan Fusion fare? Because you're also factoring in some travel time. I mean, you've got a place to stay, so you're not going to have to pay for lodging, but you've got gas and that plus the time involved and those factors.
Yeah, so I can't remember if I mentioned this when we were going over the convention stuff, like what you should bring and all of those things.
Right.
But Keith and I kind of followed 3 rules when we're doing conventions. It's table, 3 cost: table, room and board, and travel. So if we have to pay for all 3, then it has to be something relatively local. So It's like, okay, we can, like doing Arizona before we knew you guys and Gary, we had to pay for hotel. Right. So, but the travel wasn't that much. It's like a tank of gas for him and a tank of gas for me. Now, when we just hang out, he lives in LA, I live in San Diego. that's what we're paying anyway. He'll drive down here, he'll hang out, we'll drink some beers, he might stay over, he might head back up, same vice versa. And it's basically 75% of a tank of gas, maybe if not a whole thing, depending. So that's kind of nothing for us. So the travel part of that is actually relatively cheap. For something like WonderCon, I don't have a cost because I stay with Keith because he lives up in LA. So it's just like, okay, I stay with him. You know, when there's shows up there, he stays with me if there's shows down here in San Diego. And so that keeps the cost cheap. For Phoenix, like what's been great is since we've started our Patreon, like I would say 3 years too late. Like we started it, I think on our 4th year. We really should have started it like almost straight away, maybe the 2nd year. Yeah. Our patrons have essentially started to pay for our table costs. Cool. So we're not even worried about the table costs anymore.
I remember you saying that. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great thing because Phoenix Fan Fusion is not a cheap show. So we just have to save money for a few months on our Patreon, and then we just, you know, I drop the money into my account. I send it to Keith. He pays the table. You know, we're ready to roll. So this Phoenix Fan Fusion actually is turning into a very inexpensive show for us. The fact that we do have friends in Arizona that we can stay with, and then the Patreon is taking care of the table cost. The only thing we're paying for really is gas. And like I said, that's like, oh my goodness, with Arizona prices on gas, it's really
that's true.
Nothing. It is
it's
so
like
freaking cheap.
1 tank of gas in California is equivalent to like 5 tanks in Arizona.
Man, like I have a very small car, and Keith has an SUV. So on average, I would say I pay like somewhere around $40-ish to fill up my tank if it's completely empty because I have a smaller car. Mm-hmm. He has an SUV. I filled up his car with $32 because it was like, it was amazing. It was like $290 or something. Like I'm sure this isn't very interesting to people listening, but like seeing the total, I was like, did I? And so I like squeezed the handle a little bit more to make sure it was filled. You know, I just held it down and then it stopped again. I'm like, okay, it is full. It was just a crazy number. So anyway, Phoenix Fan Fusion, as far as like convention stacking goes, it's like number 2 for me. So it's like San Diego, I make the most money at. San Diego Comic Con, I make the most money. Phoenix Fan Fusion is quickly becoming number 2 and one of my more favorite shows to do.
Cool. Yeah, and that was good for me because you said it was kind of a wild card. And just like I said about ASCAF, I want to make sure that you guys, I'm hoping you guys make money so that you come back. So that's good. And you know, now that I know that your Patreon's paying for your table, I don't feel so bad about getting to be a guest at the show. Because it's funny because we go in and I'm like, guys, it's cool. Like they've upgraded the chairs. Like before we got these cheap plastic chairs to sit on, and now they're getting these comfy cushioned chairs. And Scott's like, yeah, we didn't get those chairs.
I like the humble brags there, Scott, where you're like, it's so awesome. Do you guys get a red carpet when you show up? I mean, they just keep...
I didn't even think about it. Yeah.
There was another part, too, where Scott was like, because like, and then we, you know, like, we would go to him at the end of the show, like, we just guessed. We're like, we feel like Scott is a stay till... If the show's over at 7, he's working the booth until 7.
Yeah,
that's like. Would you say that's pretty accurate?
Oh yeah, definitely. The only thing I did while the show was ending was I bought a new kind of a table setup that kind of clamps to your table. So because before you wouldn't be able to see me at all because of the thing. So anyway, that's maybe I'll show a picture later. But but it's got little what do you call wing nuts on it. All I did was while I was sitting there, I was unloosening the wing nut so that I could just boom, boom, boom and get out quickly. But beyond that, I didn't take any merchandise down or anything until the show was over.
So we're not like that. We're like, is it dead over here? Yeah. If it's dead, we would have left early. So like I don't buy into it. I know sometimes Keith might want to stay a little later, but like and then once in a while there's shows where I feel like I think this person might be back at the end because. You know, when you do shows, you kind of gauge people is like, oh, I'll be back. And like you can tell in their tone and their reaction, their body language, if it's legitimate or if it's not. Mm-hmm. So once in a while, we're like one of us is like, hey, let's hang back. Like
it's funny how
these people actually might.
At least I can be, and it sounds like you can too, whether when somebody says they're going to be back, if they're just pulling your chain or if they're serious about it.
Oh,
Yeah,
totally.
I had a lot of repeat people that said that came back on Sunday, and I usually, I always have every day. I do have usually have like last minute sales, so I don't like to break down, until it shuts down. But yeah,
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 we're kind of like, how badly do we want to go grab a beer and some food?
yeah,
That's kind of
yeah,
more.
yeah.
And even the last day, like, okay. Anyway, let's go back to where I left off on the story. So we would actually go over to Scott's booth because we would just go, all right, we're done. Let's just wrap it up. So we'll like close shop and then we'll head over to him and wait for the last few minutes to pass by. But that's when he was talking about the chairs. He had already told us about the chairs. He goes, yeah, see, look, we have these really nice soft chairs. And then he goes, so you guys have these ones then? And he pointed to these other metal chairs that like they were sturdy framed chairs. And I was like, no, we don't even have those. We have full on plastic folding chairs. So it's like a different degree of shame that they put on us.
Which is funny. Here, this will get you even more. So because they gave me 2 chairs, but I didn't use that chair the whole time because my stuff is stacked so high you wouldn't be able to see me. So I brought like a tall stool. So,
Hey Scott, can you move your mic just
yeah.
a little bit closer? Sorry, it's
Yeah.
just hard to hear.
I wonder. I'll have to when we get back to Scott talking. I'll double check and make sure that's
Okay.
right. Because sometimes
Yeah.
it'll get off. So anyway, so I had set one of those chairs because I wanted one for my girlfriend to sit down. But I had set the other one in the aisle, thinking that they were going to come by and take it. Because in the past, that's what they did. If you have extra stuff, you just set it out there and they'd come by and pick it up. I come back and it was still there. So I should have brought. Well, you would have to fight over it, but I should have brought it over to you guys because we didn't. But then again, we did use it because like my kids were just walking around the show every once in a while. They come back and just chill out and sit in the back there. But
Yeah, when we went over to you too, you guys, we were leaving. We were about to leave, and Scott had his trash can. He goes, "Where should I put this trash can?" And he like puts it out of his booth, and then Jen was like, "Just leave it right here on the side." I was like, "Yeah, just leave it on the side." And Scott's like, "Is that where you guys left your trash can?" I was like, "They didn't give us trash can." So not only do we,
I feel like you guys need to do like a live recreation of this, like a live stream recreation of it, where it's just Scott accidentally humble bragging about all his comps.
I won't even get into
Scott
the fact
Lost, what do you do with all your hundreds?
Yeah.
I won't get into the fact
yeah, all the tips that the convention just drops off. What did you guys do with that? Are you going to report those for taxes, or?
Let's not talk about the green room and how nice that was and how I had all my lunches.
Oh shit! I forgot you guys had the green room.
And on top of that, they came by every day with a big bag of snacks and like, "You want some snacks?"
This is ridiculous.
It's what the worst part is?
What's that? All you have to do,
those,
Scott.
We paid those motherfuckers to be there.
Oh yeah,
we
all
paid
you have
them.
to do is move here, and then you'd be a local creator, and you'd have a better chance of being a guest. So
yeah, go to Gary's there on the comments. He's got a question there, and that's
yeah.
into it. Oh no, the one above it, like 2 above it.
Gary, honestly, Gary might have a chance of being a guest since he is a local creator. That's part of it, because I don't think other than if you are a big name.
No, two more comments above, Scott.
Okay. Oh, 2 more. Not this one here.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Gary, you probably have a chance. So, I mean, Jim, who is the talent acquisition guy, he comes around. He checks out ASCAF, and that's where he found me. The reason he invited me because he liked my. Oops. I didn't mean to pull Paul's comment down, but it was the same question, I guess. Oh, uninvited.
His is a joke. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So he liked my how make your own comics because they're kind of aimed towards kids and they wanted to have more stuff there for kids. So I think that was the main reason I connected with him, and I made sure to kind of thank him and everything, and hopefully I'll get invited back. Yeah.
Have you seen Hudsucker Proxy?
Yeah.
Back in the day, you know how like he just holds up a circle and goes, for kids.
Yeah.
It's like that's how you've been pitching your books.
Yeah.
For kids.
Yeah. But
I was actually curious about that too. It's like I believe that you have to be an Arizona native to get that.
Unless you're like your friend Andy, who's
like a name.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was curious too how you got it, so that answers the question.
That's
Like,
awesome though, Scott. Did like what? Now I'm curious about all the comps, but do we want to continue?
Well, we can
the
talk
wrap
about
before?
that after.
Okay, yeah.
So we don't
Let's
make
do it
it
after.
feel any worse. And since we only got up for like 40 minutes.
Well, I do know there's one for like LA Comic Con. They do have like big comp artists, like you can get in as a guest, but you have to like there's like a link you click and you fill this thing out. And I got waitlisted. I think they had too many at that point for this year, so I got waitlisted. So that might be my last convention of the year if I get added. But if not, I got a Amazing Con Las Vegas in 2 weeks, and that'll probably be my last convention. Unfortunately, this is the first year we didn't get into SDCC because they have new people running it, and they have a different system, a really crappy system, to pick who is going to be in small press and other places.
Oh, weird. So they're not renewing like they used to?
Nope. They have a new system. They have a point system. And apparently, they want more merchandise people as opposed to artists and writers.
Press?
Oh, that's a
In
great
small
thing at a
press.
comic convention.
Yeah, at
Like,
San
what a
Diego
wonderful idea.
Comic-Con, they're trying to get rid of comic creators. So, yay. And it's just crappy. And like one of the criteria is like originality, which is cool. You want something original for sure. But also, it's like, but it's small press. It's literally in the name. We smell trouble is what we smell. We sell small press books. Like we're small print runs. That's like we're literally in the name. Like that's what we're doing. And they're like, nah, that's not what we're looking for small press. It's like, okay,
That's very strange.
Anyway, yeah.
But I'm not surprised. Just gauging by the direction that convention's taken. Like it's a great con, but it has progressively become less and less about comics.
Yeah,
So.
and this is like the peak of that, so a little problematic.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about highlights and lows. I mean, for me, there weren't very many lows. There were a couple of snags early on in getting in and stuff. I want to talk about that, but all in all, it was a great show, and every single show I've ever been to has some, issues or something like that. But anyway, but I don't know. Do you have any highlights that you want to talk about?
Oh, absolutely.
I've got one for sure.
Okay. So I'll go with one. It was setup.
Mm-hmm.
Setup was fantastic. So Phoenix finally got a hold of how to have a proper setup for the exhibitors. What we would do before is, so like the exhibit hall is here. Right across the street is this small kind of like turn in of a lane where you could parallel park, and you could fit maybe 7 to 10 cars if they're small. And so basically 7 to 10 at a time goes in and drops their stuff off, and then they have to leave, or you park in one of the structures or somewhere. We've been lucky enough to always get in that little parallel parking area across the street from it. This year what they did was they actually had people flagging you over to the side of the convention and having you, they're like, okay, come on up, park. Okay, here's a piece of paper, write your name and your telephone number, put it on your dash, and you got an hour. Honestly, we're not really kicking people out, but if we do need you, if you take too much time, we'll call you.
I didn't hear that part of it. I was like rushing because like I got most of my stuff set up, but it just wasn't where I needed it to be. And then I saw my time was going up because I set my timer. And so I'm running back out, and you guys had already left to go to the place, and we won't even talk about all that. But so I went and like, I got to park my car because I got to finish setting up, which I'm glad I did because we had.
But that's weird. They didn't tell you.
This is where it's going to lead to another Scott humble brag, where he's like, then the valet came. Did you guys have that problem with the valet?
Well, I should have known because they had my phone number. I figured, they would have called me if it was an issue.
It's weird that they didn't tell you what it's for.
I went and parked. Yeah, I went after that. I went back out and parked my car in the garage, but it was only like $4, so it wasn't a big deal because I was only there for an hour, and then I finished my setup and everything. But yeah, that was, and I kept bugging you guys like, so how do you do this again? Because I've always in the past I've had a pretty big setup, and I've always loaded in through the dock and everything like that, and that's kind of a an ordeal. But that was much easier, and I got.
So you didn't have to go in through the dock then.
No, I got
Oh,
all
that's
my
cool.
stuff on one cart, and loaded it in, and so it was, like Scott said, it was pretty painless. Yeah,
That's
Yeah. So
amazing.
yeah,
yeah, it's strange that they didn't tell you that. That was one of the first things we asked was like
okay,
she volunteered the information. She's like,
yeah,
actually, she volunteered. We didn't even ask. She was like, write down your name, your telephone number. She was like, you got an hour, so don't you got 1 hour? And we're like,
right,
oh, we're not even going to take an hour. Like,
right,
and
yeah,
she's like, well, if you do need extra time, you probably have it. But if you take too long, we'll call you to come move your car. So
uh,
that's why they wanted your telephone number.
okay. I
Um,
probably didn't have to move, but yeah, it wasn't
yeah.
too bad. It was only like $4, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so it was really great, really easy setup. We weren't stressed out about having to move or anything, having that information. So that was fantastic. And then we averted. Uh-oh, can you hear my mic?
no, I think Josh may be stepped away because he put a thing over his thing, so maybe that's
Oh,
what that
okay.
sound was.
Okay. Yeah, so I was able to, we were able to set up without any stress. And there's the problem with Phoenix Fan Fusion is if you're an exhibitor, you cannot bring food or drink in. Like
Right,
fans definitely can't, but
yeah,
exhibitors can't, which is insane.
yeah,
We're paying like I think it's close to $600 for this corner
right,
booth that we got, and it just doesn't make sense that we're not allowed to
right.
bring it in. However,
So
I think you and I talked about it on the air last time on
yeah, yeah. There
Artcasters.
was in the documents they were saying if you're going to bring food in, bring it in that first day. It even said that in the thing, which I thought
Yeah.
was, it's got to be. I'm sure it's not the convention. It's the venue. It's got to
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not Phoenix Fan Fusion. It is the venue itself for
yeah.
sure. So yeah, so they had that in there, and we got smart this year, especially since talking to you that it was a go. It was a green light. Like the Phoenix Fan Fusion themselves are telling you, bring your shit in on Thursday during setup. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, if you're telling me that, I'm bringing my cooler. So I
Now,
brought
did
my
you bring a
cooler
cook?
up.
Because I was going to say, why didn't you bring a cook? Because you guys said
I
you
did.
hadn't eaten. I thought you would bring like some sub sandwiches or something that you could eat while you were there.
I typically don't eat at
Okay,
shows.
okay,
I snack now. I used to not even
okay,
do that. I essentially used to fast during the
okay.
shows, except
All
for
right.
beer. So not really. So yeah, so I would just drink beers during the show, not really eat anything.
That's what I
And
kind of associate with coolers with you, where I'm
Yeah,
like, if you brought in a cooler, I'm like
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
you probably had it well stocked.
we
yeah.
stopped by Walmart like right before, like when we got into town. I told Keith, I was like, we need to find a Walmart, or we need to find somewhere where we could buy some beer and get some ice. And he goes, well, there's a Walmart over here. I was like, perfect, dude. I recorded it. This Walmart had the biggest booze section I have ever seen in my entire life. I was like,
Really?
holy shit. It was crazy, man. It was like, God, it felt like it was almost the size of a small business. Like there was so much booze. It was like there was a total wine inside the Walmart. And well, instead of us getting a bunch of like going to Trader Joe's and getting one of each of everything like we normally like to do, we just got a box, a 12-pack of Papago Orange, and we just dumped that in the cooler, threw the ice on it. Keith had brought like 4 beers, and like we called it a day. So like yeah, every day we're just having those Papagos, and it was so much easier, and it was chill, and yeah, it was a good time. So my biggest takeaway, like one of the bright spots, was that easy setup that kind of just let you kind of relax and go into it,
Yeah.
as opposed to feeling stressed when you're setting up.
Yeah, so you're not like just totally rushed and harried right before the show. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So my bright spot of the whole weekend, and I had a lot. So I had a lot of people come into my booth saying that they watched the YouTube channel and everything like that. And they knew me from that.
Oh,
And
nice.
had questions for me, and that's always cool. But there was one kid. There's this kid that comes up to me, and he's probably, I'm guessing, maybe 12 or something. He comes up to me. He goes, "I just want you to let you know you are my favorite artist." I said, "I've been watching your YouTube since I was a little kid. And you had a video on how to make wax packs."
Oh man.
And then just for reference, that old video is like, I said, "Oh, you got to watch the newer videos because that old video I perfected that technique." But anyway, and so he kind of came up and he said all this, and then he just took off, and I'm like, and before I had a chance to think, I'm like, I hope he comes back because I want to give him one of my Young and the Dead wax packs. and he did come back, so I gave him one, and then he bought my book and everything. He was
Aw.
with his mom and everything. But I mean, that just like that kind of stuff is just like like brightens my day. It just makes me, it makes me think more about, I've kind of got this right now. I'm struggling about going back and doing more comic book content on my channel and creating a separate channel for my other stuff, and that's kind of again moving me closer to that. So just because when you realize you kind of made an impact like that, so that was kind of my highlight of the whole weekend.
Dude, that's a huge highlight. Yeah.
That was a great one, man. When you were telling us, I was just like, dude, I love that feeling. Like when you get that kind of feedback, it's just, I don't know. There's nothing better than that. We haven't gotten little kids, but we have gotten creators that listen to the Making Comics podcast, and they'll reach out to us and be like, hey man, because of you guys, I was able to finish my first book. I've been working on it for 10 years and just listening to you guys. And every week you're talking about what you did. It made me mad at myself for not being as productive as you guys. So I stuck with it, and I finally finished my first book. So
that's the best.
It's the best, man. And just to know that we have that positive impact on the comics community in any kind of way is like, I'm completely grateful for it. And so, just like hearing your story about that young kid, it's just like, man, that's so cool. I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the kind of stuff that just gives you fuel for things that are not just profit driven, because you're like, oh man, like I'm actually helping people, that's really cool.
Well, I do want to get into some of the just kind of the like low points, and that, like I said, there weren't many, and they're really honestly kind of like first world problem type things. Like I get angry at stuff that really, in all actuality, everything worked out. But so when we went, we had loaded in on Thursday, and then the first day of the show was Friday. We go in there, and they won't let us in the hall. And then like they said, and we said, well, we're exhibitors. We gotta be at our table. They even said they want us at our table at 9:30, and they wouldn't let us in. So we get in probably about 10 minutes before it's supposed to open, and there's already people in the hall shopping. Like, so they're letting other people in before the exhibitors, which is weird. I think somebody got like some weird information or like didn't know what to do or whatever. So I don't know what that was all about. That was weird. And then on Sunday,
let's stay there for a second. So the fact that we couldn't get in was bizarre, and the fact that there was even an issue was even more bizarre, because it was like, well, there's too many people downstairs. Right. So number one, why did you early? Why did you let the fans down there like already? But two, why is there even an issue? Because this many people show up to the show every single year. So it's just like logistically, it doesn't make sense at all. Yeah. It's like, number one,
it's equivalent to like opening a Target when all the employees are outside and letting all the customers in and being like, no, you guys have to wait. And you're like, but like there's a whole store of people like,
they can't buy anything until we get down there. For sure. So that I found that to be very strange. Thankfully, we didn't run into that problem again for the rest of the convention. But I feel like it's like, did someone tip the fire department off, like go like to try to mess with them or something? I don't know. It was such a bizarre situation that I couldn't make heads or tails of it.
I didn't get it, but it all worked out. It wasn't in the end it wasn't that big a deal. It was just a little frustrating. But then so on Sunday we go back, and we took separate cars that day because you were heading back and everything. So I had brought my dolly, you had brought your wagon and everything. And then I made the mistake where I definitely got in the wrong line. So I was already pissed because my own fault, because I didn't assess the situation enough. Because I don't know if you like, I equate this to like, there's a Costco by my house, and it's got, there's some that have like 3 sets of pumps, and there's other lanes that have 2 sets. So you get in and sometimes you think you're going to get a line will be longer, but it's actually shorter because there's more pumps. And I usually I pay attention to that stuff. This time The line you guys got in split off, and there was 2 on each side, 2 people checking bags. I got in the one with 1, and this guy was super thorough. He's like going over every single little thing. I'm like, the whole time, and so I get up there, and all I had was my dolly and a big empty box, and it had 2 boxes in it with just some extras of the little structures that I used to put up my thing. So really nothing. So I open everything so it's ready for him to look at it. Open all the boxes, put them up there. He checks it. Then he goes to check my bag, and I fold the box back up, and he wants to check the box again. Like, you just checked the box. So then I go through it anyway. So that, that's again me just being complaining.
Yeah, no, I know. Like when you said Costco, I was just like, I know exactly where he's going with this.
Yeah.
Another example, the example I actually thought you were going to talk about is I do this, like, so I check all the lines too. And the gas one is perfect. But like what I'll do is like, I'll look at the self-checkout line, and if that's crazy, and then I'll assess all of the checkout lines. I look at who the cash register is. I'll admit, I profile.
You profile, yes. Yeah.
If it's an old lady, I'm probably not going to them. That's just like, this is how it is. So I kind of profile, like, okay, who are the people ringing people up? That guy looks young and energetic and wants to get his line done. I think I'm going to go to that guy, or whatever's like, and I'll just kind of wait a second too, and I'll just kind of watch the lines and see what's moving. I actually have a terrible radar for this, and I usually pick the wrong line. It's usually I'll pick the wrong one. But for Phoenix Fan Fusion, I found that the middle one is always the fastest one.
Okay.
And I didn't even realize that your line only had 1 person on one side. I didn't realize that. And the person that was checking our stuff, they could not give 2 cares what we had.
That's what you need. Yeah.
Just kind of did this.
Yeah. The other guy, man, he was like every single pocket, everything.
I like that. I want to write a comic about that guy who, like, the guy who like overchecks the bag. Like, what is going on in his head where he's like, you really never know. Like, when they refold the cardboard box, that's when they pull the magic trick and sneak in the weapon. Like that's where it's gonna happen. In the box I just checked that he folded. That was the move where I have to double check this suspect.
Maybe.
Here.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what goes on in his head. That's fascinating. Sorry.
So, he's trying to get a raise, man. He's trying to he doesn't want to be in the checking line anymore. He wants to be one of the guys that stands around and just point.
So after that, I go down. I go down the elevator and everything, and I got my thing, and I'm getting ready to go in the hall, and this lady stops me. And she says only exhibitors can go in, and I go, I'm a guest. I said, and she said only exhibitors, and I said, don't you know what a guest is? And then afterwards I felt bad because it might have came off.
Do you know who I am?
Who I am? And I didn't mean it like that. All I meant was that exhibitors and guests are the same. We both, and plus I've got a dolly with the big box on it. I mean, and then she says, she go talk to that person, and then I show my badge to that person, and they let me right in. So some people just aren't on the same page, I guess, is what it is.
I just love the idea of Scott. Okay, so what I'm gathering of this con so far is Scott is sitting back on cushy chairs, being brought like champagne with like special trash cans, then walking out of the con, and when security stops him, being like, "Do you know who I am?" Like is that so far recapping your experience perfectly, Scott?
You forgot about the grapes being fed to him.
Yes, yeah, and the people hand fanning, with fronds.
Yep. Oh man. Anyway, I did feel bad about that when I
great, though.
Realized how that probably came off. But
there's I saw like something on my algorithm. It was like, they're like, if you walk into somewhere with a ladder, people just tend to let you in because they assume you're doing some kind of work.
What do you call it? What do you call those things? Clipboard.
One of my favorite artists.
One
of my favorite artists, Banksy, does
I've never
does
heard
these
of him.
things. Yeah, well, everybody's heard. But anyhow, so he does these things where he'll put on like construction outfits. Yeah. And then just walk into like the Natural History Museum in New York, and just hang up like a display, and just start installing it on the wall. And they're like, well, I mean, he's wearing like a working hat and like a neon vest. Like, it's got to be legit. I love that. He did the same thing at Disneyland, where he had like a worker's uniform, and he just goes into the pool and installs like a shark fin into like the water of Disneyland, like just like, and everybody is like, well, I mean, it's the work outfit. They must be, yeah.
Seems legitimate. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Scott, what I don't know. Let's see. We're getting close to. You got how much longer?
Like 5 minutes or so.
5 minutes. So I'm just going to leave the floor. What else did you want to talk about specifically that you haven't had to? Because I've got some things I'll mention, but I can wait till you check out.
Yeah, I mean, overall, the show was fantastic. We made good money. Definitely going to be back. Like I said, like second most profitable show for me after San Diego Comic-Con. And we assessed the situation on the last day. Like, we did really well. We're like, do we really want to stay until 5 exactly? Because when we did that last time, the line for the elevator was going around the building. And so what ended up happening was I brought my wagon to the steps. So it's like 3 flights of steps.
Yeah.
And I had to take things out and carry them up the stairs.
Oh,
because I did it. I did it
this year or last year?
Last year. So
okay.
I did it for 3 flights of stairs because we waited until about 4:40 to start packing up.
Yeah.
We finished pretty fast, but there were people that were pre-loading, like essentially like they had multiple people, so they would take some stuff to the elevator while the other ones were still working on the booth. So then it created this ginormous line. I wanted to skip that workout that I got the previous year.
Yeah.
So I told Keith, I was like, look, let's break down. Like, he's like, what do you think about me doing like a half trip? I'll bring like some stuff up so that way we have enough room to just do one trip for us both for the majority of our things. And I was like, that sounds perfect. I was like, you need to leave in 5 minutes. And he goes, why? And I was like, because if you leave later than that, it's going to be 4:20. You're not getting back at 4:30 to start packing up, because the goal was, let's start packing at 4:30. I was like, so you need to leave now. And he goes, you're right. So he takes off. He goes, you're right. There's already a line for the elevator. It was taking forever. And then, so he got back about 4:30, 4:35, or like maybe 4:30. So then we just hauled ass, just breaking down our booths. We were on our way to the elevator at 4:50, 4:55, or 4:55. And then we were in our car loaded by 5:15. So if we had waited any longer, we would have been there another 30 to 40 minutes. And it was the best decision we could make. Like, our area started to die down a little bit. It was like a lot of cosplayers just hanging out, talking to each other.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, we ain't making no money. We need to get out of here. Like, if I waited until 5 and I made $10 extra,
right,
I would gladly give that up to get that 30 minutes back and like get on the road and get out of town, because it's like we're going from Arizona to LA and we still have to stop to get food and stuff like that. So it's like, what are we getting back at, like 12:30? That's what would have ended up happening if we waited even longer. We wouldn't have got back till midnight or 12:30. We ended up getting back to the Crestline house at like 11:20. So we actually got back relatively fast. Yeah, we got back really quick. So really happy about that. Like
That's
if you
really
guys
cool.
are out there, if you're out there, you're doing conventions, it pays to just assess the situation. It's just like, is it worth it? Like, what are you doing after this in order if you want to stay for that last dollar? Now, if it was local to San Diego, I would stay. I would absolutely stay. But we're 6 hours away from where we're sleeping. So it's like, no, we need to think about this.
Stayed,
the cost benefit of getting out early was worth more to me than $10 to $20. It's just like, let's get going. So
that's really useful for like people who haven't conventioned either, because I remember the first few times I conned, I didn't really think about after. Like, you do so much preparation for before, you don't really think about like, how are you going to get out of there? How long are the lines going to be for the elevators? How many elevators are there? Like, these are like really important things to kind of pre-think in a con.
This
so that's kind of cool that you did. That's insane.
This one had one, That was relative. I think there might have been one across the convention more, but the one that pretty much primarily everyone goes out of, there's one of it. Paul said, leaving the game with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Think of it more, well, from a fan's perspective, like if your team's getting blown out, that's essentially how you can equate it to. It's like, you don't need to be there for a beatdown. It's just like, we already made our money. We were good. It wasn't like the $20 was going to make or break my weekend.
Yeah.
And like, that's the equivalent of like the buzzer beater or whatever. It's just like, I just need $20 more to hit this total. So it's like, okay, all right. If it's worth it to you, stay those extra 2 minutes, but it's just like, it's just not worth it. You know, like
now this is where it's revealed that like right after you left, some guy comes by and he's like, "Oh, I was gonna offer like option money for a movie, but I guess we'll just never have that. That'll just never happen."
Oh shit! We were there for 3 days. They could have offered it any time.
He's like, "I just thought I'd wait till he wasn't busy, but oh well."
Like, oh.
That is great advice, though. I love that, and I love the thinking there too, where it's like, is it worth $10? You know, because in reality, if somebody was like, would you pay $10 to be out of like a congested, packed situation where you can't move for 30 minutes? And most people would be like, yeah, I'll pay that.
Oh, I do got one more story before I got to leave. Yeah. So not a negative because it didn't affect us at all, but it was funny. So we were next to a guy that paid for 2 booths. So he had this super wide booth, right? So we showed up. He was already set up. He had an extravagant setup, very nice setup. So if you picture it, so like this is the front of the table. So these are the front tables, right? And let's say the inside of my hands there, that's his space. So he decided to set up 2 tables like right here, and then which led like a path to get through behind it. And then we set up and it blocked off like his way. Like I think he was banking on walking through our booth to leave, but I was like looking at their setup and they had kind of like, there were lines on the ground. So like there was straight up a line right here. He had his tables here and he had 2 chairs right here. And then he had those 2 tables behind it. So he kind of boxed himself in, not realizing people are going to set up on each side of him. And so like we set up our booth, we put up our banner, we put our chairs basically back to back with his chairs. And then at some point on day 1, he like, because we were rearranging the booth, we're trying to figure out our space. And so I configured the booth like that. I put the chairs to be basically up against the back of his and one of the tables. And he saw that and he came over and talked to Keith because Keith was closest to him this time around. And he was just like, oh yeah, we're going to have a bit of a difficult time trying to get out of our booth. And so I think he was alluding to try to walk through our booth the whole show. It's like, dude, you paid for 2 booths. You're not walking through our 1 booth to get out because you set up like a dumbass. And so I think maybe the other side, he would have a chance to do it there, but they set up their booth that way too. So they blocked off his exit there. And then so what ended up happening was he had to climb over the table.
Well, technically, aren't you, if you're on the corner, I mean, you're supposed to leave room to allow people to walk through, right?
No, not yes and no. So
Okay.
Here's the thing. This is the space, right?
Right.
This is the curtain right here.
Right.
Like think of that. His
Okay.
table was here.
Okay.
So there was actually a path.
So he didn't
to
leave
walk.
the space.
Okay.
Yeah.
He left a space to walk, but he didn't leave a space to exit.
Yeah.
So there was a path. There was a path on ours, but it was where he left the aisle. So there was this complete aisle you could walk through. So like the people on the other side, the people that were on this side, they would walk through to the other side. So we did leave a path.
Okay.
But he blocked himself in with the 2 extra tables. That was completely on him. Like that wasn't on us at all. It's like
Next
dude,
time he should make like a cool, like a blanket fort tunnel kind of thing under the table. You know.
See, I thought that's what he was going to do. I thought he was going to crawl under the table. But I think what happened was they. Oh, that's time, guys. No,
All
just kidding. No. Finish the story. So that's what I thought he was going to do. But I think he had merch underneath. So like I don't think he could crawl under. So he had to go over.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny. Like we laughed. It was just like, you really thought you were going to disturb us all show long because you blocked yourself in? And it was
he
like
created his own
around
prison. I love it.
He absolutely did. He could have easily separated the 2 tables to give just enough room for him to go through.
Yeah.
But
Fair point.
He didn't think of that.
Cosplay, grappling hook exit.
And
Boom,
he didn't change
easy.
things
There you
later. He like the next day move things around so he could. No.
Nope. They were like him and his old lady. They were just like, we're done thinking for the show, I guess. You know?
I love that.
Yeah. So anyway, that was a highlight because
That's
of
amazing.
the nonsense that was going on. It was like, for real, man, you're trying to disturb us when you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's like a millionaire who's like, hey, do you have like $1 so I can get gas? And you're like, you're
exactly.
a multimillionaire. No, you can't. Like, no.
Absolutely. Like, you got 2 freaking booths, man. Figure it out. Anyway, thank you guys for having me on the show. I appreciate you. You guys always having me on.
Definitely.
I love
for
it.
you guys
Just tell
watching
people where
and
they can
stuff.
find you before you go.
Yeah. At Scott Lost right there. Bam. That's on all of the social medias that has an at. You know, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads. And then you can find me at facebook.com/Scott Lost. You can find my books at accidentalaliens.com. Second Shift is minimum wage superheroes. Wanderers of Melisande is anthropomorphic dinosaurs versus humans. And Astounding Adventures is a superhero anthology. It has Paradise Hills, which is Studio Ghibli meets Pixar storytelling, and Granite Part 1, which is 2 teenagers caught in the middle of an easy for you to say. 2 teenagers caught in the middle of an alien invasion, and one of them has superpowers. It's drawn in a European style. It's very cool. So check all that stuff at accidentalaliens.com.
All right, Scott, and link in the
All right,
description if you want to just click something, make it easy. You won't have to type anything. Just click it, and it'll take you to Scott's.
Scott, before you go, by the way, San Diego's like destroying LA, so that's just Schadenfreude or whatever for what I was saying. So just letting you know, it's like 9-0.
Holy crap! All right,
Yeah.
well, hey, that's a good number to go out on. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
All right.
Yes.
So now you gotta tell me about your experience and all the perks you got now that Scott,
Yes.
other Scott, is gone.
So basically, they, like I said, I was fortunate enough to be invited as a guest, and with that, I got green room access, which is, it's just a little area where if you need to relax, you can go and sit down and everything like that. And during lunch they serve food, so they had like, I'm trying to remember what the different days. One was like a Southwestern style. One was
Now, is this like
Italian.
food like buffet style or?
It's buffet style, but it was
Nice.
pretty good. And and of course there's coffee there the whole day. And in the afternoon they've got cookies and stuff. So pretty cool. You just like so. And I went and sat down, and then you can either bring your stuff back to your table, or you can just sit down and eat it. What I would do is I'd eat my lunch there, just kind of chill out, and then my girlfriend who was watching the booth, I would make her a plate and bring it back to her and everything like that.
Yeah,
so.
I noticed that she rocked the Circworks outfit.
I made new lab coats because my other ones were getting kind of faded. So plus my logo's changed a little, so got brand new lab coats and everything. So I made those. Yeah, I thought
that was a great idea though, to have your booth mate, rock one of those as well, because it gives like a real professional vibe to it.
Yeah, of course.
I just think that's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, and so since I hadn't done a convention in a while, there was some upfront expense because I had to, like I said, I got new lab coats, and there was some there was, like I said, I bought some stuff to kind of up my game as far as my table setup, even though my previous table setup was way more elaborate. So that was the cool part, is I had a really nice setup.
Yeah.
And I was able to break it down onto one like dolly. So whereas before it took me 2 or 3 trips, and I had to load in on the dock and everything, and it took me a lot longer to set up and all that. So
now I have all sorts of curiosity about this too. And if I'm switching subjects before you're finished, let me know.
Yeah.
But it's like, so I'm curious, how well did the books do, and then how well did the wax packs do? I'm curious about both of those things.
Yeah. So my first intention was to bring my wax packs, my how to make your own comic workbooks, and my comic book. When I realized that I had a corner booth, when I looked at the floor layout and realized I had a corner booth, I'm like, oh, I got a little extra space here on the side. What else can I bring? So hold on a second. I've shown these off before. So I have this. I did this card for Surprise Comics. It was a little smaller than this, the version I did for them. It's kind of a Joker Harley Quinn playing card, and then I did a back. So this is like a 13 by 19, double-sided hard card that I brought to the show, and I'm like, I can't just bring one thing. So I designed. I don't have it with me. It's packed up, but I designed one with Batman and Catwoman as well.
Oh, cool! Like a matching playing card?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
I had these on sale for like $40, or you get the whole both, and again double-sided and everything. Or
wait, you could buy the double-sided ones?
These are all, every one that I brought was the double-sided, and it's got the.
I didn't know you had like multiple versions of that. That's awesome.
It's just like a giant playing card.
Oh, that's perfect.
And it's basically what you're seeing here. A hard like playing card.
Wait. So Scott, real quick, are you selling those at your website, or was that like a convention exclusive?
No. So I did the design for Batman Day for Surprise Comics, but it wasn't like a double-sided. It was just a regular 11 by 17 print, and it said Surprise Comics on the side. That was their exclusive version. And then I thought, I might as well. And plus, I wanted to make a video out of it, so I'm like, and I want to go big on everything. So I'm like, if I just design a giant playing card. So then I designed the back. And again, I use kind of like the
bicycle kind of pattern.
Well, yeah, the bicycle, and then the artwork is kind of the license work that Jose Luis Garcia Lopez did, because I wanted kind of the classic look.
Yeah.
Even though when he, this wasn't in like Harley Quinn didn't come around until after he had designed that DC license guide, but he actually did this sketch on something else. So I kind of redid it because the one I found online was real low res. So I use those, and I created. And if you look, you can see all the stuff has to do with like Batman and Joker and Harley Quinn on the side and everything for the.
That's
graphic.
So awesome.
So then I'm like, okay, so this is probably going to do really well at Phoenix Comic or Fan Fusion. So I'm like, but I don't want to just bring one. So I designed another one. I did a Batman and Catwoman. I'll have to show that later. So then I brought that as well, and I thought, and so when I'm preparing and I'm doing a lot of prep for this con, so I'm actually making these because I can print this size on my printer at home, but I can't. But I had to actually print 2 different sheets and then a sheet of poster board and spray mount each of them together. So I got this hard card. Because they don't make like a hard printout. You can't really run that through my printer. You got to run like the two thin sheets, and then I sandwiched them, and then I cut the corners. I got a little corner clipper and everything. So I spent a lot of time doing those, and I made like 10 each and bringing the con. And that was the thing about this show is I had no idea how much to bring of anything because it's been so long, and everything that I brought to this show is things that I've never brought before, aside from comics, But I never had to trade either. So it's all pretty much new, other than smaller shows. I brought like some wax packs and stuff to smaller shows, but never to like a big con. So I had no idea, but I was down towards the end, and I'm like making as many wax packs as I could, because I sell those online too, and I go through my stock, and I'm like, well, hopefully I have enough and everything. So just that's all to explain kind of the stuff that I brought. And not knowing what's going to sell, but thinking these are probably going to sell real well because they're, it's recognizable characters. It's something that you think would do really well at a con. Yeah. Those did not do well at all.
Oh, really?
which I don't mind because this isn't really me. This is
that's actually okay. So what did well?
So what did well were everything else sold well. My comics sold well. The trades sold well. My make your own comic workbook sold well. Wax packs sold the best. That was the big thing. And the thing is, no matter how much signs you put and everything saying what things are, like I had a sign up here that said Wax House Trading Cards. That's kind of the brand that I put around it. And then a sign below it that said trading cards. everyone that comes up, they think they're magnets because I put them in like a plastic sleeve, so it's kind of got like a gloss to it when I display them. Everyone thinks they're those square magnets, and so people come up and they look at them, and then I explain what they are. And as soon as I explain what they are, most people are like, "Oh wow!" And some people remember them, some people don't.
Yeah.
But it's cool because a lot of younger people who didn't know what wax packs are at all, they were still into it once I explained what it was.
Well, yeah, because like the other thing that's great about those is like there is like a vintage aesthetic to the whole thing that whether you know what they are or not, they just feel vintage and authentic and kind of retro in a cool way, So I could imagine kids who've never experienced that being like, yeah.
I sold a lot to kids.
That's awesome.
And so I think the difference is this kind of stuff, there's a lot of other things, maybe not like an actual playing card, but there's a lot of things like this all over the place there.
Yeah.
The things that sold for me are the things that no one else had. Like no one else is selling wax packs.
Yeah.
No one else is selling the make your own comic workbooks. No one else is selling my particular graphic novel. So yeah, that stuff all sold pretty well. Once I explained to kind of like what those are, people are like, whoa. And I talked about, it's got bubble gum. And what I would usually do if they're younger, I would say, so back in the day, they used to wrap trading cards in these wax wrappers. And I would always make the comparison almost like a Tootsie Roll wrapper, because most people know what that is, or a Tootsie Pop wrapper, or a Bazooka bubblegum wrapper or something like that. And I would say, unlike today, where you buy a pack of Pokemon cards, they're wrapped in foil, and immediately they got that. That kind of made them get the connection. And then I explained. Sometimes you'd have to explain a couple times, and they're like, "So wait, so there's," and I'd show, and I'd have a folder in front with a sample of each card from the pack.
Yeah,
show what they'd look like, and I said, you can flip through those, and then how I'd say there's 9 cards in it, and they're like, wait, there's cards in there? I said, yeah, no, and I'd say these are just like you would get. So anyway, but you have to do a little bit of pitching to get people to know what they are, but as soon as you do that, then people are like, oh,
they're on board.
And it was almost anyone that I talked to about that would get excited about it, and then some people are just interested because it's interesting. And then they'd be like, "Oh, that's cool," but they wouldn't buy it. And some people would just buy right away. Some people, you don't even have to mention it is. They just said, "I want this and this." And I was selling 1 for $20 or 3 for $50. And a lot of people, they find 2 they want, and then they're like, and then you mention it's 3 for $50, and they're like, oh, and then they find another one. And then there are a couple people. There's this one girl where she keeps seeing ones that she likes, and she's got 3 in her hands, and then she sees another one and puts it back, and she's like, oh no, I want that one. And then finally she just bought 4 of them. So but yeah, a lot of that. Okay, there's a question here. So, and I did get this question a few times. Rookie question: Is fan art clear of rights infringement? No, it's not free of rights infringement. They tend to, at a show like this, they tend to turn a blind eye to it. And I did get that because the wax packs are a little different because they're not prints, where everyone else in the whole, like 90% of what you're going to find at a Comic-Con is you're infringing on somebody else's copyright. With the wax packs, I just said, and I stayed away from that for the longest time. And I was just like, if you can't beat them, join them, because everyone else is making a lot of money selling stuff that somebody else owns. And again, they sort of, all legalities aside, they typically won't say anything about it because they're not going to say we're okay with this. They're never going to say that. But I think they do turn a blind eye to it because it does kind of build awareness around the brand and everything like that. And without the fan art, there's not much going on at cons. Then what do? They crack down on people cosplaying as copyright and characters and all this. I mean, it's trademark characters or whatever. So, but what I would tell people if they ask me about the wax packs, I'd say, and this is the truth, is that what I'm doing here at these numbers, it's not worth it for a company to create a set. And if they did create a set, that's great, and I would buy that set, and a lot of people would buy that set. But there's a small demand. It's not big enough for these companies to make their own sets like this. And I'm not creating full sets of trading cards. I'm just creating a sample 9 pack. with the idea that, maybe it's just like when you go to like a gallery in 1988, a lot of that stuff isn't licensed.
Gallery 1988 licenses everything.
Do they?
Yeah, for their
They
shows.
didn't used
Yeah.
to. I don't think they used to.
Oh, interesting.
Oh,
okay.
But anyway, okay, maybe not the best example. Say
I
Instagram.
think at their inception they probably weren't, and then I think
Okay.
as it blew up, they started
Okay.
getting the license with
All right.
the properties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so what I'm saying is there are people that work for those brands that see cool stuff with their characters.
Yeah.
And then they'll reach out to them and want to do something official. And that sort of happened to me. A publisher who does stuff with Dave Sim, and they produce a lot of his art books and stuff. Commission or is having me do some wax packs for Cerebus.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, I think it is kind of like a unique enough thing to where, it's not like you're just selling prints you're selling something very unique that would be, it's kind of like a craft kind of thing in a weird way. So
and it's worth it.
I
for
can
me
see the
to sell
justification
those,
for it.
But again, at the numbers that I'm doing, it's probably not going to be profitable for like a Disney or something to do something as niche as a wax pack when it's a very niche market, the people that want that. Yeah. It's just like if you go, I mean,
Chris was saying Mac and Me isn't going to release a wax pack.
So I mean, this is like a Hasbro Kenner figure, but there are companies out there that make they make Star Wars action figures with the card and everything based on figures they never produced, and they've been selling them on Etsy forever.
Yep.
Kenner knows about it. I mean, Hasbro knows about it, but it's such a niche thing. They don't seem to care,
Yeah.
But so it's,
I don't think you have to justify it anymore.
I don't even want to
than
say gray area because I'll
Yeah.
be the first to admit it's total copyright infringement, but it also kind of services the the fan base and everything. So
you should just say it's pirate. Just call it pirating because that's just way more fun. That term it explains everything you just said really short. Where you're just like, no, they're pirated.
Yeah, these are bootlegs.
Bootleg's a better word. Yeah.
Anyway, so to answer that question, because I did have people ask that question.
Yar bootlegging on the high seas of conventions.
And then to me, it's just like, have you like opened your eyes when you're in here? I mean, you ask that question to everyone here.
Well, and again, I think like it's much more unique than a lot of people at cons who literally just print other people's art, of like, it's, I'm kind of okay with that. I'm glad those sold, and I'm glad there's a market for them. And also, how your trades you were saying did pretty well.
Yeah, the trades did really well. So, and I was
your return better on trades than on floppies?
Well, yeah, because the Kickstarter paid for the trades.
Yeah,
I mean, like I said, I still have. I still have a way to go before. I mean, again, I didn't have to pay for those trades. I did have to. I guess what I really should be factoring in is if they've made enough to pay for anything beyond what the Kickstarter covered, because I was at sort of that precipice where I made enough to have, if I could have done a print on demand run, and I could have had some money left over, but I spent all that money to have to
offsetting
a run of the trades. But I still had to pay for the shipping. But I made that choice because
mine still hasn't shown up, but I'm guessing it'll show up soon.
Shipped it out. I shipped it out yesterday.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, because you didn't answer your survey, and then I'm like, oh, you know what? I have Josh's address. So
that makes a lot of sense because I am like that. I do that a lot on Kickstarter by accident. I'll back something and then forget to.
So if you back the project and you filled out your survey, you should be getting it very soon. If you
guys backed it and didn't fill out your survey, and you're dumb like me, don't be like me and fill out your survey right now.
So you'll probably. I would guess you'll probably get it tomorrow.
I'm excited to see it because I love that you invested in doing it offset. That's a much better book. So how did you feel like presenting that? Because that's like your first trade.
It was really cool. I was really excited to and Pete. The trade is a way easier sell because the whole story is there.
Yeah.
I said, I brought some of the single issues just in case somebody needed to complete their collection or something like that. But I didn't really sell any. I think I sold one of your variants that you did for me, and I did some other variants. Like I sold some.
So it was all my variants. Like all the other variants didn't sell, but people were like, "This artist."
One of your variants versus none of the other people's variants.
Yeah, that's how it always. No, I'm just. That's awesome though. That's cool that. I'm just glad people are getting Young and the Dead in its entirety. That's so cool that they can. And then the return for you is so much. It's just a bigger profit margin with a book that big. You can charge a little more.
Well, I would assume that anything that I had to pay out of pocket after the Kickstarter, whether for shipping or for the single issues and the printing for the extras and stuff, I'm sure I made that. So after that, now everything is profit. And probably I already had some profit built in there for after the Kickstarter, but I'm glad I did that I would have rather have that plus all this stock. Now I still have tons to sell.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't sell so many that it's like I'm going to be depleting I've still got plenty.
Yeah.
So I've got to figure out a way to sell those online and everything or however, but
you're not at the point of like having a Young and the Dead hockey team yet, but
no. or a Young and the Dead mobile or anything.
Yeah.
Like that. So, but yeah, it's definitely an easier pitch because I said I've been putting out these single issues. I said, but this is the full thing collected in one volume, and that was it. And a lot of people would be like, oh, cool. And when you explain what it is, and then even same thing, even though it is sort of, it's got to have more impact for somebody who maybe grew up in the 80s. But I had a lot of young kids. That wanted that just because it's kids fighting zombies,
Dude, kids are really obsessed with the 80s and the 90s too. Like, the students I teach, the big thing right now is like, I mean, it's weird. They're wearing T-shirts I was wearing in high school, and it's weird because it's like But you know what's funny? Even your friend, who was like the art director for those for Jinko. That's like a thing now. Like kids are wearing Jinko jeans and they've like studied the history of it and stuff. And I've told a couple people that like we know that guy.
Yeah.
The guy, and like one of my kids had me shoot Gene a message about like a rare panda line of pant, and he was like, "Yeah, that was released and it sold out like blah blah blah." Like he had all the info on it, and suddenly that kid thought I was like the coolest person on the planet. I'm like, I can't believe, like, the resurgence of Jinko, like, it's, anyhow, so my point is, with all of that, in a long-winded way, as I always do, but it's, I've never doubted that there would be a young contingent that would be into Young and the Dead, because, like, it being in the 80s is cool right now, so, that's, like, a cool era, that kids now kind of blur with the 90s, that's a whole other thing, but they get confused about it, so they'll be like, yeah, grunge music, that's like Korn and Nirvana. And you're like, no, those are very different bands, very different movements, like very different eras of time. Anyhow.
Yeah, Sean says, Sean, yours should have went out too, so you should be getting it soon. Yeah, anybody, the only ones that I haven't shipped out are ones that I haven't got information back on. So everything else, the last shipment, other than if you haven't filled out your thing, went out yesterday. So you should be getting it in the next couple of days.
Now, Scott, I know this is a side tangent, but it's interesting. Did you, if you want to feel old, did you know that like the big vintage retro thing now is early 2000s?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Which is like, that's nuts to me. Yeah. I'm like, my college, like stuff from when I was in high school or a kid, it feels like, but my college years being vintage, that feels a little strange.
It's funny for me because anything after the 90s, I group in one thing. I group
me too.
2000s. I don't group as the aughts.
I don't even count it. Like things that came out in 2005, I'm like, that's still new, right?
That's still new. Yeah. But yeah, so those three kind of things. I had in the middle. I had the wax box off to one side. I had the workbooks, and then I had my comics. And
you have pictures of all this, right? Like
if you I'll find one and see if I can pull it up.
Okay, yeah, because I want to see your setup, like how you
yeah.
displayed the wax packs. I'm really curious.
Yeah, I'll pull one up in a minute after I kind of finish my thought, and then I'll let you talk. And
Yeah.
while you're doing that, so the wax packs did really well with, obviously, I mean, not wax packs, but the workbooks did really well with, kids for one, parents with kids and stuff like that, but also with teachers. Teachers
Yeah.
came by and they would just, they'd buy those things up and everything. Now there were definitely standouts among those. The thumbnails do well. The ones where you can create the stats for all your hero and design your heroes, those did good. The turnarounds for the heroes did well. The blank comic pages did well. Ones that don't do as well, or they don't do well at all, are really specific ones like the lettering one. Although I sold a couple of those.
Yeah.
But you have to be really deep into
Yeah.
making comics to want to actually hand letter your comic and practice that. But anyway, I want to cover everything. I've got a couple of new ones. I did a cover one with some cover layouts, so you can design your own covers. Those did okay. Comic strip layouts, those did all right. So, but I kind of know which ones to order more of and which ones that I don't need as many.
Yeah, it's like giving you on the ground data of like what does well.
The wax packs are a total mystery. You never know what's going to. I mean, people would buy some people were just like, oh, I got to buy like the most obscure ones, like the really bad movies. Some people like the first day, and again,
I still think, Scott, I still think you need to do like horror cons. And do the bad horror movies, do niche conventions, because like that wax pack thing,
there
is
a big trading card show. I just don't know how they would react to non-licensed stuff the same, because it's not like a Comic-Con where you can, like I said, you can point to everything else that's
they'd be opposed to it because it's actually collectible.
I just don't know. There is one other company that actually does wax packs that license them, and they do mostly like horror stuff. But so I don't know if that would create an issue there. I don't know, but maybe I can do some research on that, because I know they would sell well.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I diverted you, man. But I just think I just am so excited about the wax packs doing well, because I do think
There's
you
so
do them
avenues.
incredibly well.
There's the avenue of trying to sell them on Whatnot and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I just haven't got around to it. I mean, there's a lot of content of people doing unwrapping wax packs online that I want to send some packs out. And
what have you been busy fulfilling a Kickstarter and setting up for a giant convention?
Yeah, that's what I've been, and it was good that I did well, because honestly, there hasn't been a whole lot of money coming in, because I've been spending so much time running the Kickstarter and then setting up for this that I hadn't had time to like work on projects. And like I haven't even the guy that commissioned me to do the Cerebus stuff, he hasn't got back to me, and I haven't got back to him because I didn't have the time yet. So that type of stuff. Anything else so there's not been a whole lot of money coming in other than what I'm selling on Etsy and stuff like that. But like the wax packs are total, who knows? Like I went with as much as wax packs as I had, and I didn't have a whole lot because I was spending so much time making more of these. These things here. And I sold through a bunch the first day. So when I got home that first day, I'm sitting there like mad making wax packs, and everyone was asking. I made one of my more recent sets and this is one I didn't even know they didn't make cards of, because I just like, it's a no-brainer. I thought for sure they did, and once I found out that didn't, I'm like, oh, I got to make them, and that's the 70s Wonder Woman with Linda Carter. So I made a pack of those, and everyone was asking about it the first day, and I was down to like a pack. And so I'm like, oh, I got to make more of these. And then I don't think I sold another one the rest of the week.
Isn't that weird? It's just,
And then other ones I sold out of that I didn't think I was going to sell out of. So, but I definitely in the future have to go with a little more of a better stock with that stuff, because I did sell out of a few and I was getting low on some.
Yeah.
But I'll know that. Like these things I sold 2 of them to this one guy who has like I think like an antique store or something that he opened. And he bought 2 of the same ones because he wanted to display one like this or one like this, or maybe he wanted to. Jen says he wanted to display one like this and then one like this. Anyway, so
that's cool.
and then I sold another
Why?
one.
Well, you could have upsold him for 4 and been like, well, you need one of the front that goes up, and then the back as well.
Yeah, he was interested. He was a Joker fan, so he just wanted the Joker one. But
Scott, you never answered. Are those for sale on your website, or was that convention
No, and
exclusive?
I don't know if I will put them up there.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe I will just see if I can sell through them. But
yeah.
I don't. I mean, this kind of stuff. I mean, I'm probably going to even go back in some of my other stuff and get rid of certain things as I start issuing new merch for what I'm planning to. However, I plan to promote this next comic because I want to try to figure out a way, and maybe we'll even do a show where we try to get some ideas of how to, before the comic's even done, make money at it while I'm making it, which I'm trying to think of some ideas. But the one good thing about me making these is I donated a couple of these charities. There was one that was doing like a poker tournament, and these are perfect for that. So I gave that. So a couple of them made some money for charity. And then there was another really nice family who had a sick kid that they had a GoFundMe for, and they had another artist who had donated some work, and I'm like,
how nice.
And so I gave them that for an auction. So that was cool. So to have something like that was cool, since I mean they weren't selling like crazy, and I think it's a cool piece and everything, like especially for a poker tournament. So
that's kind of perfect.
Yeah. So I don't know. Let me know some of your questions. I'll see if I can find. Let me see if I can find that the photo there, and I'll see if I can upload it while you're.
I love the idea of the giant playing cards. I'm kind of surprised they haven't actually made those. It just feels appropriate for Batman because of the giant coin and a lot of giant objects in the Bat, cave. So,
because I didn't know what to expect. Like I was thinking, if I brought these things and they just did crazy nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, oh, I could make more. I could make like Miles Morales with the Spider-Gwen and like all kinds of different ones and just do a whole thing. And I'm thinking maybe I even get 2 tables and I have one. And I thought, oh, it'd be really cool to set up like green felt, make it look like a poker table.
Yeah.
With chips and things, and then have a whole brand on that. But it just wasn't the runaway success that I thought was possible.
But you know what I think is cool is like the kind of almost like affirmation of the thing you've been kind of building, which is the wax packs. Where you're like, I think there's something here. Like it sounds like there's something there.
Yeah. And again, I mean, as much as I love Marvel, DC. I grew up with this stuff, and it's fun creating this stuff, but that's not really what I want to sell. I want to do stuff that's a little more personal to me.
Yeah.
And the wax packs they're other properties, but it's something unique, and it's something that it's hands-on. It's something I love. Like the whole channel now where I talk about, where I'm doing all this nostalgic stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of, that it just fits into my brand and everything.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I bring, whether it's Young and the Dead, that's based on 80s type properties.
Yeah.
Or the wax packs. It's all kind of nostalgia based,
Yeah.
I've got my nostalgia reinvented, kind of tagline that kind of sums all that up. So, I'm gonna let's see where.
I love it.
Somewhere in here, I've got let me find the.
I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or not. Tankersley said Josh wins the Brian Posehn lookalike contest.
I don't think you look like Brian Posehn. Really?
I mean, Kevin Cross is friends with the guy, so maybe that just rubs off when you're friends with. Maybe that's why Brian Posehn looks the way he does. He just hung out with Kevin Cross too long, for fans of the show and stuff, you guys should check out Kevin's Patreon too. He just released some music that he's been making for his animation, and it's really cool. Very not Sergio Aragonés. Who's the composer? I always get him confused with Sergio Aragonés. Do you remember Scott, the composer from like westerns and stuff?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. The guitar riff westerns. Anyhow.
Are you talking about the thing that Kevin just put out? That music?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Listen, it was awesome.
Yeah, but anyhow, it's a guy whose name sounds like Sergio Aragonés, but
Right.
I'm a cartoonist, so I
Sergio
just
Leone. Or is
Leone. There it is.
Yeah.
I just instantly get distracted by the giant mustache of Aragonés. Did you find the picture?
I did. I'm gonna upload it.
I love it because I just really want to see how that setup was and stuff.
Yeah,
It sounds like a really positive show, Scott.
Yeah,
Like,
I was pleasant. I don't want to say I was. I just didn't know what to expect, So let's see.
and I'm glad they treated their guests well. That's good. It sounds like they treated paying guests and special guests like pretty equally well, other than all the perks.
That file. Okay, hold on. I'm just about to get it. Let's see.
Oh, did you get a chance to walk the floor at all, or were you just conning the whole time?
Yeah. Since my girlfriend was there helping me out, I did get a chance to walk around. Got some comics, talked to some people about appearing on the show and everything like that. So that's cool.
Oh, I love it. Oh, speaking of people appearing on the show, next week we're going to have David Hartman on again, which I'm really excited about. Good friend of the show. He's going to have a friend who worked on a book recently come join us as well.
Okay, I'm going to pull this photo up now.
I love it.
So that's the booth setup. So it's similar to kind of what you saw for the smaller shows. It's kind of a bad angle because it's like you can't see so this thing back there with the X-ray glasses. Can you see that? You can only see part of it, like half of it. Yeah. So that actually spins around. Those two things spin around. So I spent some time making that type of thing, and it took a while for me to get it to work right. But
wait, they actually spin?
Yeah. So it looks like you're being hypnotized. And again, the angle of this, if they would have taken Scott, actually it was Scott Lost that took the photo, but if we would have took it from a little bit more center, you could see the whole sign. But you see how I've got the Young and the Dead and the Make Your Own Comics kind of banners above, and there's kind of a wax house in the middle. So that little thing around it is the new thing that I got, because otherwise you wouldn't. Otherwise, it was before they were kind of lowered down to where I was, and I only had this little window where you could see my head.
Yeah.
And since I knew, I needed plus my girlfriend was going to be helping me, and there's not enough room for both of us there. So I bought that thing so I could raise that up. So, and it worked pretty well. Yeah. So
that's awesome. I think next time though, I still like the idea we had of hiding under the table. And then when people come by going, hello.
But you can see I've got the wax packs in the middle, comics to one side, and and you can barely on the other side, you can kind of see the playing cards hanging up there. That's
the slime is really cool. Dylan just said that, and I agree. I think that's a really cool touch of it. The green slime.
Yeah, it adds a little flair to it and everything, and it ties in with the lime green lab coats and everything. So that's kind of the wax pack slime, or it could be dripping wax or whatever you want to call it. But, so I thought that was kind of a fun thing that added some brightness to it, and you can see it. So I've also in the front flat on the table, I've got a few samples that people can pick up and look at, and then the trading cards, single cards off to the side, so I can show people that. Definitely put my prices everywhere so people can see them easily. So that's kind of the setup. But
that's such a nice pared down table. What's funny is for people seeing that, they'd be like, a pared down, that's pretty extravagant. No, for Scott, this is very pared down. I think you did a really good job with it. It still looks equally, professional and cool and fits your branding, but it's, not going to break your back to set up. And it brings more focus on the products you're really trying to sell, which I think is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing that the wax packs are on, I built that. Before I just had a thing made out of foam core. So this one's actually made out of wood, so it's a little sturdier and everything, and that was helpful. And so yeah, I mean, I think I was pretty here. I can compare it to here's the display I had at the smaller thing. You can see how everything. Now this is a larger table. That's the other thing too. This is an 8-foot table.
Yeah.
So you can see here where I have a little bit of a window there where the signs are right above the products, which is cool because they're right above the products, but I have a little window, and when I have a smaller booth, because this at an 8-foot table, that's great, but when you got a 6-foot table, I'd only have this little tiny window, so that's kind of the difference there,
I really like that. That's a good solution.
Yeah.
That's cool. It gives you like a drive-through window.
Yeah. So anyway, that's that. So I don't know. Beyond that, I think I covered most everything. We had I don't know. It's also just cool hanging out with we got Gary couldn't make it out to the show, but we did go meet him after for dinner and stuff, and went to there's a place called the Cornish Pasty Company out here that has Cornish pasties almost in every single flavor. And if you're not familiar with those it's kind of like almost like a fancy hot pocket.
Did I ever tell you as a kid I used to think it was pasty, and then I think as an adult I ended up saying, like, let's go out for pasties, and people were like, what? And then I found out what pasties were, and I was like, oh, like I've been saying that wrong for years.
Yeah. So, but it's just cool hanging out, and we'll get to do that again in August when we do our retreat. But the one thing at the Cornish Pasty Company, I probably tipped the waiter a little too much. I probably shouldn't have tipped him as much as I did once I found out that he was a racist. So,
oh wow,
it's funny because we were sitting there, and Keith's talking to the guy, and he sees he's got a hat with a death metal logo of some band, and underneath it says death metal. I don't know if you've seen most death metal logos. You can't. They're
illegible. Yeah,
you can't.
If they're done right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's underneath it said death metal, and Keith likes death metal, so he's like, oh, who is this band? And the guy was telling him, and then so later he's like, oh, cool, and so Keith's doing some research, and because
it's a white supremacist band.
Okay. Yeah, he's like,
oh no.
Okay, he's like, okay, here's a question, and I forgot the name of the band, but this band is, and you fill in the blank, and then I go, I don't know, Little People, because there's like a Kiss band that has Little People. And I'm like, and he's like, no, and somebody else had a different guess, and then I think Scott Lost guessed it, and he goes, they're white supremacists. And he says, yeah, they're racist.
It's the worst.
I thought that was funny.
That's the unfortunate thing in the metal and punk scene is that they, unfortunately, because it's like aggressive music, there's just a bunch of douchebags who like have taken over the scene.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. So you're kind of like wanting to get your tip back, like, can I have that back?
Yeah. Anyway, but
that's wild.
But it's always cool hanging out with those guys, and I'm glad the show went well for them, so they'll be back. And I'm, obviously I needed the show to do well for me, and it did really well.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't have much to compare it to because I haven't done a show in so long, but the fact that I didn't have to pay for the table, really all I had to pay for was parking. And food paid for me, some gas, but not much because I'm local. But yeah, it was a great experience. Hopefully, I'm hoping they invite me back again.
Yeah.
I'm still at the point where I don't know if I'm going to do. Although if knowing what I know now about what kind of sells the wax packs do well and the other stuff and what does well, I could probably start doing shows again, even if I had to pay for the because if I pay for the table, I'd still make a really good profit.
Yeah.
That's
good.
But I think I'm still kind of at the point where I probably won't do too many shows unless it's a super small, like really, like ASCAP is like, I don't know, a table there is like $60.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, so all in all, great show.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they're kind of. It seems like they're back. The rest of the people, everyone that I talked to, said they did really well, or I heard a lot of people saying they had record years and stuff. So hopefully it'll continue. And I don't know if they had record attendance, but they definitely sold out, which is good. So hopefully that's a good thing. And the other thing that's kind of cool is, so you asked if I got to walk around, which I did. So I picked up some comics and stuff. But the one cool thing, and for anyone that doesn't know, I was kind of in the running to be the creative director for Phoenix Fan Fusion, which was like a part-time thing. So I'm like, oh, that'll work out because it's part-time and I can do that and still do my own thing. And I made it through a couple rounds of interviews and stuff, and then they decided on somebody else. But when I was talking to the owner of Fan Fusion and everything, he was talking about that they're putting together their own comic and everything with an artist, Travis Hansen, who's always done the art, a lot of the artwork and stuff for the shows, like the badge art and everything like that. But they put together this comic, and so, which is cool because, you know, conventions nowadays, even with the name change, which wasn't necessarily to get away from comics because they had to change it because
it was just that San Diego was going to sue them.
Yeah, right. But they changed it to Fan Fusion, so yes, there's no comic in the name, so technically it doesn't have to be a comic show. But the fact that they created a comic around this, and they had a really cool table. Like it was a really thick. It was like printed on newsprint, a really thick comic, and it was like $10. So I bought one, and they gave me this really nice bag that it came with. But they also had other merch and stuff with the characters and plushies and all that. So I just thought that was cool that they're creating some characters that are kind of tied to the con and everything, and a comic book around that. I haven't had a chance to read it, but I thought that was cool because they're doing something with comics. And just the guy that invited me, that's his job is he invites the comic creators, and I was in a section of all comic creators, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that's great too, that, you know, you're having an impact like in Arizona. You know, that's I mean, you're having an impact everywhere, but that's, I think, really cool that you're being able to be a part of that, like kind of representing comics in your area, you know. I think that's awesome.
So Dylan, I didn't see Sundrop Studios. Sometimes it's possible I have. Like a lot of times the studio names aren't necessarily what they either go by, or they don't have it displayed. It's just kind of the name of their studio. So I may have seen it and not realized what was what, but you have to kind of let me know what kind of like stuff they do and everything, because it's possible I saw them. Oh, the other thing I would mention is that, having not really been to the con or exhibited at the con for a while, I was like really impressed with the level of artists exhibiting there. And it might just be because so many, like for one, the animation industry got hit so bad that a lot of them are like now doing cons and stuff like that.
They need to stay out of our turf. Go back to animate. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyone knows, like, animation artists are some of the best artists.
Yes, 100%.
So, but there, I mean, I was just walking around, the level of the art that I was seeing. The level of the displays, because back in the day, like I went all out on my displays and I tried to make something really cool, but not everyone like did that. But a lot of these displays now are really up in their game and stuff. So it was really cool just to walk around and see the level of all the artwork and the displays.
And I'm glad it's a con where comics are selling. You know, like that to me is a really good sign. Like it sounds like Scott and Keith had a similar experience, and like to me that's a really good sign of a good con is if books are selling and it's not just prints. You know, like I think that's just that's a real good thing for the industry. That's encouraging, man. It sounds like a good affirmation that you've been spending your time well. You know?
Definitely. I'm definitely. I'm happy that I go. I'm also happy it's over just because it's a lot of work. So now let's get back to like today. I've got, like, if you look over here on my table, it is all just like wax packs that I've got to. Because then I get people, when I get back and there's people like, you're sold out of this. Are you going to get more of this? And like, I sold out through a lot of stuff. So I'm making
Scott, what's going to happen next year is they're looking through the list of guests, right? And they're talking to staff, like, who should we invite back? And there's one security guard lady who's like, there's this douchebag who said, do you know who I am? And I don't ever want him back. And they're like, who, Susan? You're the most important voice in this convention. Who is this? And they're like, Scott Serkland.
So Erwin Papa wants to know, it's a good show. Are there any other good shows that you guys vendor at regularly? So I'm just getting back into like doing shows after kind of COVID. So I'm not really the person to ask. The only shows I do are local, and like recently now I do have a lot of books to sell. So I may, who knows, I may start looking into doing other shows. Now that I have friends in California. I mean, I've always had friends in California, but I've got kind of friends like everywhere, whether it's San Diego, LA, everywhere. I've got a place that I could stay no matter what. I'm sure.
It's true.
So I may start looking into that because I've got a lot of books to sell. So I don't know. But yeah, I do. The only other show that I do, and this is a local show, is ASCAP, which is the Arizona Comic Arts Festival.
Yeah.
It's just a one-day show, and that one's specifically for comic creators. So
also, if you're local to Arizona, always keep an eye out for Scott at Surprise Comics because he does a lot of signings there.
Yeah. Oh, and then the owner stopped by the booth and everything. I showed him the Batman thing I did, and so that might be the next. I'll do an exclusive version for the shop, probably for Batman Day, whenever that comes up. But
that's exciting.
And then I had a number of people that get commissions for me at the shop that came by and want to know when I was going to do another event. So I just put that in their ear, like just let me know whenever you want to do another. Like maybe I'll do like a book launch or something like that. An official Young and the Dead book launch and do sketches and stuff.
I think that would be great. You should totally set that up. I love it, Scott. Congrats. When did the con finish?
Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you had any like downtime to like decompress or kick convention crud or?
Yeah, I kind of took it. I mean, I did work yesterday, but I kind of took it easy.
Yeah.
I just, when I got back on Sunday, I unpacked my stuff, and then on Monday, I just it was more of a kind of chill thing. I did kind of start just printing out some stuff, and I had a couple of things that I had to get to, but it wasn't my usual like, oh man, just got to get all this stuff done, and it's kind of more of a lazy thing. So, and it was that kind of, I did a lot more today, but I still feel like I can kind of ease back into everything now.
Yeah.
But there's so much of stuff I want to get to. I want to start working, thinking about my next comic and all this stuff. And I've got to get back to some of the people that I had, that we're supposed to be working on projects together and all kinds of stuff.
I relate to that a lot because like I've had a lot of people who are educators because it's my first year like teaching high school and I took the summer off and a bunch of people are like, oh, you took the summer off, well, enjoy your vacation. And I was like, well, I'm not really like I'm never not working like and with my personality like summer where all I have to do is comics is like that's like the best vacation. Mm-hmm. But it's like, it is funny that people who are like non-creatives are like, oh, you're going to take some time off. And it's like, never like that's never going to happen. But I did have like a day of like decompression and stuff once summer hit, just to kind of recoup from like a whole year,
Yeah.
But I'm just overjoyed that it went well. To answer that guy's question too, I tend to do conventions when I have a book to promote, and right now I'm in the crunch of finishing Not Death But Love for the publisher because it's due at the end of summer, and scheduled to come out next May, and so I have to hit that deadline. So I will not be conventioning. I will be insanely cartooning for the next like few months. But once that's done, I'm sure I'll probably do some appearances and stuff just to promote the book, especially if they have, if Turner has like a presence somewhere, I'll probably be there. Scott, that's amazing. It sounds great. It sounds like a good time. I really think it's cool that you guys both had Circworks Art Labs. And I don't know. It's just I'll have to. I'm looking forward to our meetup because I'm a little jealous of you guys getting to hang out. That sounds fun.
Yeah. Well, it's not too far from now, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Truth. Well, cool.
Right.
Is there anything we didn't cover?
No, I think we covered most of it. So we want to wrap things up. Yeah. Anything else? If there's nothing else you want to know, then I'll just start wrapping things up. We're a little past that time, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds like a great con. Yeah.
All right. So, you can. Well, let me go to you first because I.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. If you guys didn't kind of catch what I was saying before, I'm going to be working on comics all summer, almost every day, and so that means I'll be live streaming almost every single day, including tonight after this show. I'll probably take like a 10-minute break, get some coffee, a refill of coffee, and then probably be cartooning late into the night. So if you are a night owl and you want company while you're cartooning or working on creative projects, or just want to hang out, make sure you're subscribed to Joshua Kemble on YouTube, and I'll be streaming probably in like the next hour or whatever there. And then also, if you want to listen to some great rock and roll, check out No Saboteurs. The Sun Eventually Sets on Everything. It's out on all music streaming platforms everywhere. And don't feel guilty that it's free on Spotify. If you listen to it on Spotify and add it to your playlist, I actually get paid for that. So that's pretty cool. And I've made, some money off that. So continue to listen to that album. And make sure you add it and stuff to your playlist. And then Joshua Kemble on music streaming platforms everywhere. I have about 5 albums out. And then aside from that, my indie comics, 2 Stories, Book 1, and Jacob's Apartment are both out. They're what the cool indie kids are reading, and you should read them too. So that's basically it. Scott, where can people purchase some of the things you've talked about selling at this convention? And then how do they keep track of this crazy show?
Yeah, so you can go to Serkworks.com. I've got the wax packs that I've been talking about. I've got there's links to where you can find my make your own comics workbooks. The collected, the trade is not on the website yet, but it will be soon. Hopefully by next week, I'll have it up there. So all that stuff is on plus my digital products, all that kind of stuff is available on my website at Serkworks.com. Also on this YouTube channel, you can find some cool videos of me taking retro stuff from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, recreating it, but putting a weird spin on it. And then, and my series Making Comics 101 is also on this channel. In addition to half of the other Artcasters, or in some case a third, back when we had 3 hosts. And what I'm alluding to is the show kind of goes back and forth between Josh's channel and my own channel. In the past, it even went to Corey's channel when he was the host. So if you want to know when these shows are going to air, or whose channel they're going to be on, all that stuff, because it can get a little confusing with the back and forth and all that, just join our mailing list. We don't spam you or anything. The only thing we do is about 30 minutes at least before we go live, we send out an email it'll give you a link to click on it, so you'll know exactly where to find the show every single week, so it won't get confusing. So there's a link in the description for that. Check that out. Frank says the thumbnail workbooks came in really handy. Yeah, that's one of my favorite. That's the one that I kept telling people that I actually use myself, is the thumbnail workbook. So definitely check those things out. Tons of cool stuff. But thanks to everyone in the chat, and hopefully we got any questions that were on there. And we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye. That is it.